Hi guys, I'm Jim. Today I'm going to show you how to use PowerDirector 17 to make a cute picture like this of you as a teardrop coming out of your own eye. And there's a green screen step to that and a couple of other tricks that are kind of peculiar to PowerDirector 17, and we'll go through them. So I start off with two uh, files. One of them is a picture of my own eye, which is magnified, and which I'm going to modify in terms of size so that I can make it look a little bit better. And I'm going to trim it, click Freeform so that you can modify parts of it that'll give you a little more real estate to let a teardrop be visible coming out of your eye. And the idea is to make it look as realistic as possible. Click OK when you got it the way you want it. So that's the trimmed picture of my eye, which incidentally is not a black eye from a fight. I didn't get it that way. I got this after retinal detachment surgery, believe it or not, and I'm pretty much healed up from that. It's been about 3 weeks, but I did a lot of tearing from this eye for about a couple of weeks, and it was kind of a nuisance, but it's getting better. And so the next part of this is to drag the green screen down to the second track. And so the next step would be to make sure that the mask that I use to superimpose the green screen picture of me on the eye is Mask Designer. Usually that's okay. And I usually pick the square because that usually works pretty good, and that looks all right. And then I go to Pip Designer and click Chroma Key in the eye drop. And wherever you see green, you click. And most of the time that gets rid of all of it if things are okay. You can use the color range slider if you're lazy like me and slide that to get rid of wherever you're green around the edges. And that looks all right. And click OK. And so we've got this so far of me green screen superimposed on the big picture of my eye. Now we go back to, just to show you that, the way it looks, and then go back to Pip Designer, and there are a couple of other things that I need to do in order to make me look like a tear coming out of the eye. First of all, I have to be upside down, so I flip this around using this rotator handle and shrink it so that I look more like a little tear coming out of my eye. And now what might be a little hard to see here are the blue rectangles here at the corners, which are handles that allow me to modify the picture by stretching it in different directions. And it's a little tricky. You got to hold it just right. It looks like a little arrow with like a cross sign at the tip of it. Left click on it and stretch it out. Do the same with the other corner, and that allows you to distort the image enough so it looks like it's fitting your eye. Sort of like that. You may have to shift this around just a little bit. You could try doing this, but it may not work that well. The two upper corners for something like this, to try to fit it around where tears usually flow out of the eyes, is what you're after. kind of fun. So that looks okay. You want to make it toward the corner of the eye where the tear duct is, so to speak. And click OK. Now, the next step really is making a little video of this. And the only reason to make a video of it is so you can make another picture of it to modify further with a couple of other tricks that will make this image of me look more like a teardrop. And so, producing this, you go up here to where it says produce, click that. And it may take a second or two. You don't need to pay any attention to this. And all you want to do is make sure that you can find this picture wherever you save it. And I just want to make sure that I save this in a place that I can easily find it, and it's usually to the desktop. It'll end up in the program itself here. So all I do is click Start, and it produces a little video. And I'll go back to the edit page, and here's the video. These are working files, and since you've used them to make the video, you don't need them anymore. And you can right-click and remove the files back to the library. Bring the video file down to track 1, and then you see that this is ready to be modified in a way that'll make me look more like a tear, but you have to use an effect. And the effects files are over here under FX. You click that and find drain. So drain is the one that I chose to use to make me look like a tear. So I just focus on trimming that a little bit. You get 2 little arrows. You don't really necessarily have to do that, but it makes things look a little neater. And now you can see that this looks really wonky, and the reason this looks like this is because the twist for the drain, things going around the drain spin, and the idea really here is to modify this drain center so that it's somewhere else and not making it look like my eye is even worse injured than it was. So the way to do that is by modifying it in a keyframe. And you come over here and click Modify. And you might want to try clicking Inverse, which may be helpful. And click the position. And see this little red dot? It changes to a hand. And then you can try to move this center of the drain a little bit so that it looks more like a dropping tear. Now you notice that this distorts the right-hand edge of the picture, but we'll sort of take care of that in a little bit. Now that might be where I'd want that. Click OK, and position I think is going to work out all right. And then you can see what happens with the degree and size of the twist of the drain with these 2 modifiers, and that makes you it looks a little, it changes it a little bit. I don't want to make it too extreme. And then the size of it, it might be a little too big, or depending on how impressed you want to be with a drop, you could do that. X out of it. That's how I'm going to leave it for now. And then the other thing that would be nice to do here, there's these black bars on the outside edge of it. This is a little bit distorted. And we may not be able to get rid of all of that, but we can choose a different background, and we go back up here to where your media content is. And there's a drop-down list below the media content. And you go down to background images and choose that. And you see this raindrops effect here? That looks like it would fit really well with the theme of Teardrop Gem because there's lots of drops of wetness. And so this wetness thing, we're going to try to add position as the background. Now, all you see here are raindrops, and the way to fix that would be to go to Designer, click Mask Designer, because we're going to do something called a reverse mask with this in order to make sure that the main picture, which is my eye dripping me, show up in the middle with the background being the raindrops. And so these are masks, and they will cover the main picture, and that's what we don't want. But there happens to be another choice, and those are the reverse masks. And you can choose, there's a few choices. There's this one, and there's a square, and I sort of like the semicircle. And then the other thing you could do is stretch out this water part so that that uneven edge gets taken care of, and do the same thing to the other side. And there you got the picture, and I think that's okay, and I click on that. And the picture is essentially finished, and you got Teardrop Gem coming out of Jim's eye, and I would just take a picture of that, and that's a Teardrop 2, let's say, since it's another one. And I'm going to put this in the folder, but it'll show up also here. And here's Teardrop 2, which looks about as good as this one, and maybe even a little better, because it's not as twisted here. But they're both pretty effective. They're funny and weird, and they kind of expressed how I felt for a couple of weeks when I was constantly tearing after the eye surgery. So that's it. That's how I made that picture, and it's posted on my blog post about recovering from the retinal surgery. Thanks very much for watching. Have fun with it.